Seems to be you always give the best of me, and I don't seem to mind. I suppose that I could build a better me, but I don't have the time.
Good evening, afternoon, whenever you happen to be listening, and welcome to the Broadhurst-Watkins Sports Report,
Sports in black and white.
a presentation of the Not a Network podcast network. I'm your host. I am the voice of reason, allegedly. My name is Harry Broadhurst. Joining me as per usual, he is the DSDO, the anchorman, the HNIC of, and I guess technically NAP.
Yeah.
You know me, I'm down with NAP.
Number one. Number two.
He is Eric Watkins. And are you seriously drinking a frappe on air?
Actually, no. This is a Dunkin' Donuts cold brew with sweet cold foam with coconut milk and brown butter toffee. And if you have the Dunkin' Rewards app, they have a promotion until the end of the month. You get a purchase, add one of these bad boys for free. Because remember, here at the Broadhurst-Watkins Sports Report,
sports in black and white. We can't be bought,
but we can damn sure be rented. And
Here.
the Squid and Not a Network podcast network runs on Dunkin'.
The shills are coming early, but all right, let's get serious here. Normally we start the show with studs and duds. I don't think it's any secret that here at the Not a Network podcast network, we have a resident Buffalo Bills fan. I literally don't think there's another way we can open the show. So that happened. Tragedy avoided, I think, would be the best way to describe it, given what we know now.
Very much so.
But the young man still has a long way to go. If you've been living under a rock, first of all, welcome back. Second of all, we take you to the curious case of one Damar Hamlin, safety for the Buffalo Bills. Damar himself, a injury fill-in for the previously hurt earlier in the season Micah Hyde. On a routine play early in the first quarter of ABC's, technically, and ESPN's more specifically, Monday Night Football, Cincinnati quarterback Joe Burrow completes a pass to wide receiver T. Higgins across the middle. Damar goes in for a tackle. T. Higgins lowers a shoulder, and tragedy strikes. As unfortunately, Higgins' shoulder catches Damar at just the wrong angle at just the wrong time. While not officially confirmed, the belief is commotio cordis.
Yep, commotio cordis.
Commotio, excuse me. Which in layman's terms literally means cardiac arrest brought on by blunt force trauma. In an image that I personally will never be able to get out of my head, Hamlin makes the tackle. Hamlin stands up. And then Hamlin immediately goes back down. Personnel runs onto the field. Players are frantically calling for assistance because they know something's not right. Hamlin is tended to with CPR being administered along with electronic defibrillation the defibrillators, in order to reestablish cardiac rhythm for almost 10 minutes on the field before being loaded into an ambulance and taken to UCMC, University of Cincinnati Medical Center, approximately 5 to 7 minutes down the road from Paul Brown's. I guess, is it still Paul Brown Stadium?
As far as I know.
I don't think it is, actually. I think it has a corporate name now. Because I think they said that whatever the field was called was lit up in the blue and the red for Damar, but I don't think it's officially Paul Brown anymore.
Paycor Stadium.
Paycor, that's it. Hold on one second. Allow me to very quickly turn off the sound on my cell phone. I apologize for that. The game does not continue. Players started warming back up. Coaches have a conversation. Both Sean McDermott of the Buffalo Bills and Zach Taylor of the Cincinnati Bengals. And both coaches point to the locker rooms to send their teams off the field. Approximately an hour-ish later, the game is officially canceled. I think it's like an hour and 15 minutes later.
Thereabouts, because it happened at 8:55, so a little after 10 p.m. Eastern time. That's when the decision was made.
10:01, I believe, is the official timeline, if I recall correctly. More or less, as I understand it, and this has not been confirmed, the NFL has denied this, but we've seen situations in the past where the NFL has required teams to play on. If you believe what Joe Buck and Troy Aikman were saying on the Monday Night Football booth, the NFL gave both teams 10 minutes to warm back up, 5 to 10 minutes to warm back up, and then they were going to continue the game. Zach Taylor and Sean McDermott basically said, nah, fuck that.
Mm-mm.
I want to go back to October of last year.
Okay.
October of 2021. Let's say last year, but technically speaking, 2 years ago. We are in 2023 now, but this is our first show of 2023, actually. 27 for the Buffalo Bills. Widely considered to be one of the best, if not the best cornerback in the league, Tre'Davious White, is on the turf in what was a season-ending injury when he tore his ACL. So this is a man who knows about spending time not being able to do anything on the football field. The image of Tre'Davious with tears pouring down his face is not one I'll be able to forget anytime soon. The image of Stephon Diggs standing on the sideline crying is not one I'll be able to forget anytime soon. The image of Joe Burrow and Josh Allen standing side by side, hugging each other as they load Damar into the ambulance is not one sports fans should be able to forget anytime soon. Simply put, Monday night became about much, much more than football. I'm pretty sure I know who your stud is, so I'm going to go ahead and let you announce it here, and I want you to use the exact quote that he did, because I'm sure you have it up.
I'm going to pull it up because I definitely want to get it right.
You hear all the time how players are saying that they're willing to die for this, that I would give my life for this. Ryan Clark, former safety for the Pittsburgh Steelers in the National Football League, now ESPN NFL analyst. Tonight on that field, we may have seen somebody do just that in the immediate aftermath of the Damar Hamlin injury. Do you have the clip, Mr. Watkins?
Pulling that up as well, because I have mine as Booger McFarlane.
Oh, so you
Also,
have the Booker McFarlane one. Okay. I do want to play what Ryan. I do want to play what Ryan Clark had to say as well, though.
oh yeah, I'm getting that.
While Eric takes the time to do that, I want to share some positives to come out of this so far over the last couple of days. Damar Hamlin is awake. Damar Hamlin is alert. I believe the phrase that was used was neurologically intact, which is code for no long-term damage caused from being down on the field having CPR and the AED being administered for almost 10 minutes. This week isn't about rewarding on-field performances. This week is about a man who saved another man's life. And while the rest of the staff for the Buffalo Bills athletic trainers, the EMTs that were able to get Hamlin to the UCMC as quickly as they were, the doctors and nurses at UCMC and the trauma unit that took care of Mr. Hamlin once he arrived. My stud for the week is Denny Kellington. DENNY KELLINGTON. Assistant trainer for the Buffalo Bills. And the man who was performing CPR on Damar Hamlin.
The fact that the doctors were rightfully and extremely quick to acknowledge that in these situations, seconds matter. Mr. Kellington, everyone who was on the field for the medical team, Bills and Bengals, knowing the dire urgency of that situation and reacting within seconds when seconds mattered. No amount of anything could express the gratitude.
Nina Hamlin's little boy is still alive because of you guys. Do you have your clips ready to go?
I do. I have both. Let me get.
Let's do the Ryan Clark clip first, since I've already referenced it.
Yep, you got it.
This is about Damar Hamlin, and it's about a young man at 24 years old that was living his dream, that a few hours ago was getting ready to play the biggest game of his NFL career, and there's probably nowhere else in the world he wanted to be. And now he fights for his life.
Pause for a quick second.
When
For those who don't know, the name that just flashed across the screen, Alana Getzenberg. If you go back just a few seconds on the clip there. Right there.
Yep, hold on.
he fights,
I got to go back farther. There we
Right there.
go.
Alana Getzenberg is the Buffalo Bills reporter for ESPN.com. Just letting everybody know who the players are in the situation. Continue.
He fights for his life. And when Damar Hamlin falls to the turf, and when you see the medical staff rush to the field and both teams are on the field, you realize this isn't normal. You realize this isn't just football. And so many times in this game and in our job.
Stephon Diggs arriving at UCMC after the game, once the game was called, in order to check on Hamlin. The name mentioned right there, Coley Harvey, is the ESPN reporter who was outside reporting on it, who actually had to confirm who Stephon Diggs was to the security guard working at the hospital, so they would let Diggs into the hospital to go check on Hamlin.
As well, we use the cliches, I'm ready to die for this. I'm willing to give my life for this. It's time to go to war. And I think sometimes we use those things so much, we forget that part of living this dream is putting your life at risk. And tonight, we got to see a side of football that is extremely ugly, a side of football that no one ever the side of football that no one ever wants to see or never wants to admit exists. When you see both teams on the field crying in that way, your first thought is Damar Hamlin. The second thought is his family. And this isn't about a football player, right? This is about a human. This is about a brother. This is about a son. This is about a friend. This is about someone who is loved by so many that you have to watch go through this. I dealt with this before, and I watched my teammates for days come to my hospital bed and just cry. I had them call me and tell me that they didn't think I was going to make it, and now this team has to deal with that, and they have no answers. And so the next time I think that we get upset at our favorite fantasy player, or we're upset that the guy on our team doesn't make the play, and we're saying he's worthless, and we're saying you get to make all this money, we should remember that these men are putting their lives on the line to live their dream. And tonight, Damar Hamlin's dream became a nightmare for not only himself, but his family and his entire team.
Okay, so to give that clip a little bit of perspective, that was with Sports Center with Scott Van Pelt, which ESPN cut to immediately following the postponement. And then once Joe Buck and Troy Aikman signed off for the night, they went over to Sports Center with SVP like an hour and a half early. I think it was, because Scott was only on the air until like 11:30. I want to say, because he went to what would have been the original Monday Night Football sign-off time, and then they went to Sports Center Los Angeles, I believe. So that was in the immediate aftermath. Obviously, we know now that based on all of the updates that we have seen, it appears that Mr. Hamlin will be able to make a full recovery. I don't say that flippantly. I know that there are still a lot of roads to cross, a lot of T's to be crossed, a lot of I's to be dotted, but all signs point to a positive outcome for this. We did not know this. We did not know this at the time that Ryan Clark had those words to share. Go ahead.
Right. When he was saying this within the moment, everything was incredibly fresh. And for long-time listeners and viewers, going back to our days at the kickoff, Mama Watkins. She has made her appearances on there from time to time. Someone who 30 years as a registered nurse, 50 years in the nursing field. I had long conversations with her as she was watching this live along with me that night. And the main thing she said, the first 24 to 48 hours, those are the worst. That's when you're in the woods. You get through that, then you start heading on your way out and you'll have a clear idea. Thankfully, as we're recording this, we're past that time and there's a lot of encouraging signs. But in that night, right in the thick of things, everything was up in the air. Nobody knew. All the concentration was just on everything in that moment.
I'll be the first person to admit I barely slept Monday night. I was constantly up checking my phone, checking ESPN, checking Twitter, trying to find whatever updates I could.
I was right there, just the same, and going through different Discords, messaging everybody, checking tweets, all that, crisscrossing, relaying information like an old school switchboard operator. Get this here, these people know this, hearing this, checking this.
You said your stud for the week is Booger McFarland. I will allow you to explain.
During everything that happened when there was supposed to be a game going on, I'd noticed a lot of different tones, and subsequently from Ryan Clark, former player, from Booger McFarland, another former player, grasping a moment to which nobody had really dealt with, really in Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Can I also just point out how uncomfortable Adam Schefter looked as well?
Mm-hmm.
Like he was fidgeting in his seat. He was like constantly moving and stuff. Like he looked like he wanted to be anywhere else but on that set at that particular moment
Absolutely.
in time.
Absolutely. I mean, you could tell with him, you could tell with Susie Colbert, Lisa Saunders, just everybody. It's like this is just not in our purview. But I will say they all handled it with just total aplomb.
Absolutely.
And one of the first things that stuck in my mind was one of these first moments from Booger himself.
We reached a point a little while ago where nobody's concerned about football anymore tonight. Football is played as entertainment. I don't think anybody is in the mood nor the spirit to be entertained tonight. The only thing we're concerned about is that young man, his family, what's going on with him, making sure he's okay. That's it. We'll figure out the football game at some other point in time, but it's time for the NFL, the Players Association, whoever needs to make the call, whoever that is. We're done playing football tonight. We're done. Let's move on. We as a network, we'll figure out what to do. We'll put something up. Joe and Troy, that's the last thing they're concerned about is calling a football game. Nobody's concerned about football right now all the way around. America right now is concerned about one thing, the health and safety of this young man. And I think we need to go ahead and make that call. Stop speculating. Everybody's tweeting about it. Call the game. Let's NFL go ahead and call this game and let's move on.
And this was at a time there was no official decision. There was nothing. Still in the middle of, as you had mentioned earlier, that warm-up period, players uncertain, coaches rallying, getting them to the locker room and everything else. People were wondering what's going to happen. Booger McFarland said the first of many things on everybody's mind. No, we're done. NFL, it's on you. Do the right thing. Everybody go home. We sit and wait. This transcended football. And I had said, even on our Discord, in our staff chat, leave it to the former players, first and foremost, to know what is up and where everyone's heads are at, because they have been there.
And especially in Ryan Clark's case, having laid on the field in the situation where he had to be ambulanced out of a building. Unfortunately, for every Ryan Clark and for every Booger McFarland during this story, there's somebody like Bart Scott. I'm not going to give the dignity of this clip being played. If you want to see it, by all means, go look it up for yourselves, because we won't be airing it. But to put it into perspective, he basically said that the reason what happened to Damar happened was because T. Higgins lowered his head and hit Damar in the chest with his helmet. Which, if you watch the replay of, though, you see, first of all, that's completely fabricated bullshit. He caught him with his shoulder. He caught him with his shoulder.
Completely legal. Everything was above board. Everything.
Number two, Hamlin was going in for a tackle. His head was down, but his chest was exposed, unfortunately.
It was just right at that perfect angle, right here.
Caught him right in the chest cavity, right at the wrong place at the exact wrong time. So, Mr. Scott, respectfully, or disrespectfully, however you want to look at this, honestly, shut the fuck up.
You know what? There is a clip that I have for this. I think you'll appreciate it, because it's another one of those moments where someone steps up and says what a lot of us, and it should be all of us, that are thinking.
Thank you. I do want to say one more thing. I haven't reached out to T. I hope that, he got some relief today, and I don't know I saw some stuff on Twitter, and people should not be attacking him whatsoever. And I'm glad that Damar's family came out and said that, and hopefully he found some relief today, because again, that's a football play, and I hope that he doesn't hold that upon himself, because again, there's nothing else that he could have done in that situation. So I just wanted to say that too.
Scroll down just a little bit and look at the tweet by the NFL on CBS right underneath it. Don't worry about the clip again. Just read what it says right there. Josh Allen made it a point to show support for T. Higgins as his press conference was ending yesterday. Yeah. Bart Scott, time nor place for such a stupid, uninformed opinion.
I know Bills Mafia and everybody has been appreciative of number 17. I've seen the amazing things y'all have done for him and his family. Y'all deserve him, because that is just straight class. I get it entirely. That is what a quarterback does. That's what a leader does.
That is what a franchise quarterback does. There's a very specific reason we love JA-17 up in Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just for how he performs off the field, it's because on the field, it's because of what kind of person he is off of it as well. Mr. Watkins, who's on your unfortunate side of the ledger right now?
You know, it's one thing where you can create a whole bunch of memes and clips of a man arguing against himself and have it to perfection. It's another when this same man makes his career being a bit of controversial, blowhard, and creating the genre of embrace debate. I get that.
You know what it amounts to? It's a sports shock jock.
Yes, that is a term exactly used for one Skip Bayless. And I'm going to say, mild bit of devil's advocate, if you looked at a series of tweets that he placed Monday night after the tragic injury, and I'm thankful it was just an injury.
Absolutely.
You would see, you could say some levels of empathy, everything that happened, as you would hope a decent human being shows. And you understand that at the distant end of the day, the National Football League is a for-profit business. In the back of our minds, we all get that. So in a series of tweets, you would think, okay, there would be something there. But to highlight a specific tweet from that about how they were going to continue the game, yes, you put on that, oh, it's irrelevant and feels irrelevant this time. Did you not hear and feel the sentiments of Booger McFarland and the like? It's just, no. Fuck the game. That's another issue, another day. This is about a human life. The fact you even bring that into the public lexicon at that time? Seriously, time and place. And we talked about this, and I'm sure you will agree with me, Shannon Sharp on Undisputed. You the man. Let him face everything in all of this, because the higher-ups of Fox Sports call down to him and say, hey, explain yourself. Provide context. This is not a good look. We know it. You know it. Do better. Sometimes you just can't. You can't. Think before you tweet.
You know what my big takeaway from all of this is? There is a really fat contract with Shannon Sharp's name on it at ESPN sooner rather than later. Because something tells me that he's not going to be putting up with Bayless's shit for much longer.
Nope.
Given the tone of the interactions that they had on Wednesday, because Shannon basically left him out to dry on Tuesday by not showing up.
Oh, yeah. He's like, nope, I got nothing to do with this. You face this music. This is all on you. Shannon, rightfully so. Rightfully so.
So you know what we do? We trade Bart Scott for Shannon Sharp, and then Undisputed can just fuck off.
Oh, yeah. Because as is, if Fox Brass wants to let that show die and they realize, hey, this isn't working anymore, I'm not up that early in the morning. I don't watch it. It does nothing to me. I'm good. I'm sure a lot of other people feel the same way.
And there are going to be those that say freedom of speech, freedom of speech, freedom of... Yeah, it's still freedom of speech. What it isn't is freedom from consequence.
Exactly.
Your words have consequences, especially when you are in the media and people look to you to be a shining light in situations like this. Skip Bayless was the exact opposite of the shining light in that moment. At no point in his head should that have been something that he would have put out, let alone something that he left up even after the backlash. And it was a significant backlash very quickly started against him. Monday night wasn't about football. Monday night was about humanity. And unfortunately, it appears some people are a little bit more humane than others. I want to take a few moments and talk about some positives to come out of this if we can. First of all, the amazing progress that Damar is making. Fantastic. Love to see it. Hope to keep reading it over the next couple of days and weeks. And once postseason time rolls around, hopefully there's a nice cozy spot in the owner's box. Hopefully there's a nice cozy place over on the sideline for him to be with his teammates. And hopefully the Bills can go on one hell of a ride. Chasing M's Foundation. Damar Hamlin's charity. There was a GoFundMe that had a goal of $2,500 set. And I think it was just slightly over the goal already. When this happened, I want to say it was something like $3,000 off of the $2,500 pledge or whatever. When tragedy strikes in other places and in other ways, Bills Mafia themselves have always stepped up for other people. I take you back to the AFC playoff game where Buffalo took on Baltimore. And Lamar Jackson got concussed during that game. The Bills knocked him out of the game in the third quarter. And donations started pouring into Lamar Jackson's Backpack Foundation. To say nothing of what the Bills Mafia had done for Andy Dalton when Dalton put the Bills into the playoffs in 2017. To say nothing of the fact that the Bills raised enough money to build a hospital wing named after Josh Allen's grandmother at a children's hospital in Buffalo. When tragedy strikes, Bills Mafia steps up. Well, in this particular instance, the rest of the human free world stepped up. Do you have the page up by any chance?
As a matter of fact, I do.
Please share that on the screen real quick.
Of course. I was just about to give the update.
Per the GoFundMe account set up for the Chasing M Foundation Community Toy Drive, $8 million raised for Damar Hamlin's charity.
Actually, another 20,000 just in the past little over half hour since we've been on air.
Look at the top donation right there. Right, highlight that with your mouse real quick. The Indianapolis Colts and Jim Irsay. $25,000 and then the $3 additional because of Damar Hamlin's jersey number. Other names included on that donation list Robert Kraft and the New England Patriots. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Matthew Stafford putting that Little Caesars money to very good use. The Cleveland Browns, new era. The Houston Texans, Sean McVay, the coach of the Los Angeles Rams. Russell and Sierra Wilson. May not like him as a player, but you see TB12's name right there as well. Rob Gronkowski, of course he donated $6,900.
Nice.
Of course he did. Damn it, Gronk.
I just spotted that. You can't help it, but man.
Damn it, Gronk. All right, scroll down a little bit further because you know the name that I want you to find, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's what? Hold on, go back up for a second. Country music singer Luke Bryan. Just a little bit further down, Sauce Gardner. Right underneath that, Mike Evans, the wide receiver for the Buccaneers. Devontae and Davian Adams. Devontae, of course, the wide receiver for the Las Vegas Raiders. Not sure if it'll still be listed on there, but I think there was a $3,000 donation from there's WWE or AEW wrestler Chris Jericho now with the formerly of the WWE.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, his original donation, he misspelled his name intentionally so he could donate twice.
Aww.
You know the one I'm looking for, right?
Yep, I'm looking. Oh, there's Rich Eisen.
Bill O'Brien, the former Texans coach. Right there. Andy and J.J. Dalton. The same Andy Dalton who the Bills Mafia blew up his charitable foundations and donations of $17 to mark $1 for every year it had been since the Bills were in the playoffs.
And you know, there's an interesting saying in times like this. I'll provide context to it when I'm done. The English never remember, but the Irish never forget. For the man who is known as the Red Rifle, and I had said this before we came on air, you had mentioned it, everything Bills Mafia did for him to help propel y'all into the playoffs. He remembered and returned in kind.
I personally always enjoyed Andy Dalton, the football player.
Mm-hmm.
Andy Dalton, the human being, is next level. So where do we go from here? Well, the Bills return to action this Sunday against the New England Patriots. And needless to say, unique circumstances require unique solutions.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about those a little bit later on when we pour one out for the homers. But the AFC Championship game could still be in Buffalo.
It could.
It could still be in Kansas City.
It could.
It might be in neither. Dramatic doggo. More on that momentarily. All right. On behalf of Mr. Watkins, on behalf of the Not a Network chief, the actual the blue name behind it all, Brian Espinosa, and obviously on behalf of myself, proud member of Bills Mafia, Damar, we're with you. We're right behind you every step of the way. I don't know where things go from here, but I do know this much. Mafia takes care of its own. And you saw what happened with Pittsburgh and Ryan Shazier.
Mm-hmm.
Him working for the team after he was unable to play. Should unfortunately that be the situation in Buffalo, and Hamlin's not eligible to perform in the NFL anymore, that boy has a PR job for life with the Bills.
Open arms. Open arms.
Just the kind of people that the Pagulas are.
Mm-hmm.
We're sending our best to you, Damar. Get well soon. We can't wait to see you back on the sideline. We now continue with your regularly scheduled shenanigans that you've come to expect here from the Broadhurst-Watkins Sports Report. I'm a survivor.
It's funny that Mr. Blue Name couldn't be here for these next couple of bits.
You know what's even more appropriate? Look what our next segment is. I propose a 1-week change. I'm a Hamlin.
As it is offered, so shall it be.
And Eric, who are you picking to win this week for your Survivor pick?
This is a team that has done me well in Survivor picks. This is a team that one way or another I have always rooted for. This happens to be a team whose shirt you are wearing as I speak. You know how I feel about the Patriots. Robert Kraft, donation aside, he has goodwill points. If there were
also what he did for that Raiders fan or that Patriots fan that was in Vegas for that game where he got verbally assaulted by that lady and showed a remarkable amount of restraint.
Oh yeah. And I mean, if there was a conversation one day in the future where knowledge of certain establishments in my state of Florida is exchanged.
Jesus.
We're
back on track now.
I mean, with all this aside, you're still the Patriots in the evil empire. And for a multitude of reasons, I can't have y'all come out on top. For this one, for me, for Damar, I'm a Hamlin this week. Hashtag do it for Damar. Hashtag love for 3. Hashtag Bills by $1 billion. Let's go, Buffalo.
Oh, with them getting the boost that they just got today with talking to him on FaceTime, New England's about to get smoked on Sunday.
It'll be the wild card last year all over again. And I will be here for it.
Oh, buddy. What was that, 45-10?
Thereabouts.
Yeah.
Good luck with that, Mac Jones. Good luck.
Oh, by the way,
fun.
actually, it might not even be Mac Jones. He might still be injured. It may very well still be Jones's backup in New England. Bailey Zappi. Yeah, let's throw Bailey Zappi out to Ed Oliver and friends. I'm just Terrell Edmonds and AJ Epinesa. So do you know the reason that he's taking Buffalo and I'm a Survivor? Because I couldn't. I wanted to, but I couldn't. I already have them on my current win streak.
Mm-hmm.
You know what else I found out? The Intercepticon is back. Who booked this shit?
I mean, he nearly came back before, but Trevor Siemian miraculously injured during warm-ups and yet miraculously was healthy enough to start that game.
Nathan Peterman starts for the Chicago Bears on Sunday against Minnesota. A 1 p.m. Kirk Cousins kickoff. I knew he was waiting for it. I had to give it to him.
Get the chains ready, folks. Get the chains. That's all I'm saying.
Side bet, Mr. Watkins, over under on Peterman interceptions. I'm saying 3.
3.5, and I think he'll hit the over.
I'm saying 3, and I'm looking at a push. We're just going to keep a running count on that the rest of the season, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
That's fair. That's going to be part of the Super Bowl parlay at this. Excuse me, the Superb Owl parlay later on in the season. I have to be careful not to get us sued. I'm a Hamlin, and Minnesota's about to smack Chicago around.
He's so I say. All I'm saying.
Pour one out for the homers. Jeez Louise. Ducks and chickens.
Oh, well, I want to say the schedule gods were a little bit kind and semi-cruel because everybody was wondering, you've got division titles on the line, you've got playoff spots on the line. Who was going to be flexed into some primetime spots? Well, there's not only one primetime spot, but there are 2 this week.
And technically speaking, there are 7 national broadcast games too.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a 4:30 on Saturday.
Yep.
And that would be Chiefs and Vegas.
Yep.
8 o'clock on Saturday. We'll pour one out for the homers here on that momentarily.
Mm-hmm.
Both CBS and Fox have a 1 o'clock and a 4:25 national.
Mm-hmm.
And the Sunday night football game was going to be Green Bay and Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a multitude of professional football options this weekend, in addition to the FCS National Championship game on Sunday as well on ABC.
Oh.
North Dakota State versus South Dakota State.
Border battle. Nice.
Rematch from earlier in the year when South Dakota State beat North Dakota State. I don't think it happens again.
No, the Bison, they've been there before. They're good at avenging losses.
I don't bet against North Dakota State in national championship games. I've learned that lesson. So let's talk pouring one out for the homers here. And the 8 o'clock Saturday game, 8 p.m., ESPN/ABC simulcast, sees the Tennessee Titans at the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Duval!
Eric, if I would have told you at the beginning of the season that we would go into week 17 and you guys had a game to make the postseason, what would you have said?
And now, it's funny you mentioned that. Because let's flash back. Way back last year, season previews.
Stop. Rewind.
We went through our respective schedules game by game, and we offered our thoughts. Going into everything game by game, I initially said, like I said the previous season, 7-10 would be fantastic. But I went through game by game, and I realized if everything broke just the right way, we would come into this week 18 game at 8-8.
Correct.
We would have the potential to win, given Tennessee's situation, and finish with the winning season at 9-8. Now, I said myself at that time, given Indianapolis, a cheeky second place in the division, wild card contention, I would take that.
Yeah, we didn't expect Matt Ryan to suck in Indy.
Therefore, this potential to go 9-8 is not for a wild card spot, but for only our second AFC South title ever.
We go back.
Go ahead.
We go back to the sad days of 2017.
Hey, at least with things that happen, it wouldn't be a repeat this season, if that feels comforting.
Yeah, we'll get to that whole cluster fudge and a half here in a few moments.
So I'm looking at myself. All right, Ryan Tannehill's on injured reserve. Step 1. Josh Dobbs, it turns out, is starting a quarterback. Step 2. Yes, they're fighting for the division title themselves. Yes, Derrick Henry is playing. I still like our chances. If we can hold hopeful future Jaguars backup running back Derrick Henry to a similar second half performance as we did in our first meeting in Nashville, with our momentum, with Trevor Lawrence carrying the chip on his shoulder in his recent hot streak, I really love our chances of winning the division and making the playoffs. I'm scared, but I'm hopeful.
I go back to a couple episodes ago here on BWSR, and I seem to remember a specific show title that fits in this particular instance. Do you remember that show title? Hope is a hell of a drug.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, is it ever.
Yeah, the hopium runs strong right about now.
So now let's get into the rocket science, shall we?
Oh boy. Yeah. The NFL owners got together earlier today.
As expected.
They had a whole bunch of situations on the table for what happened. Rightfully so. Let's get the cat out of the bag first. The Bills-Bengals game was declared a no contest.
As it should have been.
Exactly. That actually helped me as I wound up winning one of my fantasy leagues because of that. A 14-1 regular season did not go to waste, thankfully.
Cash league or freebie?
Freebie.
Aw, disappointing. But cool. Hey, titles are titles.
This is true, and considering as how in one of my other leagues I finished 11th place, yeah, I will take this win.
You do it for the chip.
So, you wonder, because also here at the Not a Network, as I have to, have to find it.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. Is it this? No, it's not that far down. So you wonder, as we do the math, that means that counting this week's games, the Bills and Bengals will have played 16, while everybody else in the league, specifically the AFC, will have played 17. But wait a minute. That math ain't mathin'. How will the playoffs work? Well, 31 out of 32 owners agreed. The Bengals being objectors, and you'll find out why. If, because there was the number 1 seed on the line, still in some ways is, if it so happens that the currently 12-3 Bills and 13-3 Chiefs, if they match results, then you would have a half game differential for whoever's the number 1 seed. Wait, how would they resolve that when Buffalo beat Kansas City head-to-head? Well, I'll tell you. If it so happens that they meet up in the AFC Championship game,
which is literally the only place they would be eligible to meet up should both teams win on Sunday, or Saturday and Sunday, respectively,
then it will be neither in Buffalo nor Kansas City. It will be at a neutral site to be determined at a future date if the need allows. That's if they either both win, lose, tie, what have you. But then you're like, hey, wait a minute. Cincinnati, there were permutations that with their win and another win in the division and the number 1 seed themselves, they accounted for that. If the Bills and Chiefs both lose, but Cincinnati wins, then either a Bills-Chiefs or Bills-Bengals AFC Championship game would also be held at a neutral site.
Which I think is a fair decision, given the fact that obviously the game didn't go to a conclusion here. It was 7-3 early in the first quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Both teams have beaten Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm not mistaken, isn't it also a Bengals-Chiefs AFC Championship game would go to a neutral site as well?
They did not specify that.
And the only reason I say, or would actually, I think Kansas City would have to lose for that to happen.
Yes. Now, you did mention Cincinnati, and
But wait, there's more.
as I said, the AFC North was decided because of this no contest. Baltimore and Cincinnati. I wonder, did they clarify which time slot that game would be in now? Because
1
that
o'clock.
near. Okay. So when they take the field at 1 o'clock, Cincinnati has extra advantage. If Baltimore were to win that game, and Baltimore and Cincinnati were paired up wild card weekend, the host of that game will be determined via coin flip.
Tails. Dang it.
If, however, visions of a truck stop somewhere in the middle of Texas come to your head, do not fret. If you know, you know. If Cincinnati were to win, or if the two were not matched up together, everything fair dinkum stays as is. Normal rules apply, void where prohibited by law.
So I actually do think it's likely that could end up happening. But I think it's going to be a situation where Cincinnati wins on Sunday because the Ravens are starting Todd Huntley. Tyler Huntley, the former UCLA quarterback. And pretty sure. Or was that his brother?
That's Brent Hundley, who is on the practice squad. Tyler Huntley, different spelling. If I remember correctly, Virginia Tech.
Oh, my apologies. I did not. But the point being is that Huntley is not beating Cincinnati. And just as importantly, the LA Chargers have a chance to overtake Baltimore for the 5 seed. If they beat Denver, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, they play Denver because Kansas City plays Vegas. So what could end up happening here is we could end up with a situation of how are they going to determine the number 1 seed, though? Who gets the bye?
If Buffalo wins and Kansas City loses, Buffalo gets the 1 seed, everything again as it was.
Everything's negated. Buffalo takes the top seed, KC 2, Cincinnati 3.
However, if indeed Kansas City ends up with that half-game advantage, they would still get the number 1 seed in the bye into the divisional round.
So the only way Buffalo's not playing next week is if Kansas City loses.
Correct.
Well, that sucks.
And I will confirm that as we continue. Because they did mention, again, a lot of contingencies in that.
I mean, I don't like the idea of adding an 8th playoff team in the AFC to make that fair because, let's be honest, the Steelers, the Dolphins, the Patriots, and the Jaguars would be backing into that 8 seed at best if it comes to that for Jacksonville. I don't think it will, but the point is they would be backing in. So 2 of those 3 teams would be backing into that spot at best. And while I get the idea that not having to play would work for you, not having to play could also work against you as well in the potential rust buildup of having that bye week. We saw what happened to Tennessee last year, as a matter of fact. Tennessee had the one bye in the 2021 AFC playoffs and then got smacked around on their own field by Cincinnati in the divisional round.
In some ways, it was glorious to watch, even though I am an AFC South guy.
I would never root for a team in my division.
Yeah, I got a little bit of heat because a friend of mine is a Titans fan, and they were rooting for us during our last playoff run, but yeah.
Unfortunately, I might have to become a Sauce Gardner fan. I'm not sure how I feel about this.
Only temporarily. Only temporarily. I mean, I am also a Sauce Gardner fan this week too.
Okay, Sauce Gardner, except for 2 weeks a year. Those 2 weeks, I hope he gets torched like a building on Chicago Fire. It felt appropriate. So Buffalo and New England. And we talked about this a little bit earlier because of your I'm a Hamlin pick. Honorary renaming of that segment for the rest of the season?
I'll allow it.
That checks. I think New England gets smacked in the mouth on Sunday.
Same.
Unfortunately, I also think Kansas City beats the crap out of Vegas on Saturday.
Lay sigh.
The only thing that I could think of, too, is, and the main reason that I'm going to say this about Kansas City fans, because I saw certain Kansas City fans complaining about the fact that the game being moved to a neutral site. You should be happy that the game is being moved to a neutral site. Buffalo's beaten you twice in Kansas City in the last 2 seasons. Be glad that you don't have to come to Buffalo instead. Because that would be really unfair in January. If I had to guess, I'd say probably someplace domed.
Indianapolis.
You could also make the argument for Ford Field up in Detroit as well.
True.
Although I guess Lucas Oil would make more sense since the Colts aren't sniffing the postseason. Ugh, that team is so bad. So bad.
Again, blame Mr. Irsay himself and his dad too.
I think Irsay was drunk when he put that team together.
I mean,
that maths.
That it really does math.
It do be facts though.
You ain't lying.
For the last time in the regular season, Eric, I believe it's time to ask my favorite question on this entire podcast. Are you serious? The now legalized in Ohio edition. Because why not?
I mean, look, sometimes you bet on Bovada, sometimes you bet on DraftKings or FanDuel.
Just remember that 21 means 21.
God damn it!
Obey all local, state, and federal gambling laws. Please gamble responsibly. If you or anybody you know has a problem, the number scrolling on your screen, 1-800-522-4700, 1-800-GAMBLER, if you did not know that. Today
I learned.
Tomorrow I'll forget. I mean, the only reason I know that now is because that's what actually scrolls on the FanDuel app. It says 1-800-GAMBLER. I did the math in my head. Actually, no, I don't think that would be 1-800-GAMBLER.
No, because that would be, hold on, let me do this right. 1-800-422
or 1-800-426.
Wait.
2537.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the DraftKings dedicated one.
Yeah, because it's ABCDEFGHIJKL. Yeah, 426-2537.
Alternative numbers to call. Either way, if you or anybody you know needs help, by all means, make sure they reach out. Never bet more than you can afford to lose. So it's pretty much a done deal in terms of the against the spread for us, Eric.
Yeah, I had a pretty average year if you go by historically.
I was a little underwhelming compared to my previous seasons, but given the start I got off to, I'll take it. I am currently up 7.5, I believe it is. 8. Actually, no, it's 8.
Because
8.5.
yeah, 8.5.
9 more wins, 8 fewer losses, so 8.5. However, in terms of our teams actually outright winning the games, Mr. Watkins is currently up on me by 2.5.
I don't know how that happened.
Because I've been going with a lot smaller numbers in the latter weeks. So if I don't get the ATS, I'm not getting this straight up either.
Fair.
So let's see what happens, shall we?
Let's.
Do you want to start underdogs or locks?
Let's start underdogs.
All right.
Because, boy, the dogs this week are live.
Well, this will be the only time you ever hear me do this on this show. Even though they're technically in Jersey, I hereby pay tribute to Alicia Keys with my underdog selections this week. Because we're in New York, concrete jungle where dreams are made of. I will take the Jets +2 at Miami and the Giants +14 at Philadelphia. Why? Because why not?
Well, you know me. You know my affinity both for and against certain quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
I did some thinking when I looked at my underdogs in particular. Baker touchdown maker? Geno Smith with the playoffs on the line? One of these things is not like the other. And for that...
Oh, just real quick, I wanted to go back to the thing that I sent you, the Brandon Carney thing that I sent you.
Mm-hmm.
Geno Smith has knocked the Jets out of the playoffs. That's very unexpected. No, because he used to do it all the time when he played for the Jets. I was howling.
And it's going to be even funnier when he knocks the Seahawks out of the postseason as well, because some things never change. Give me the Rams +6 in the home of the 12s. And I know Dak Prescott is a good dude. I know that he's a good quarterback. But have you kind of seen them lately? And I'm thinking to myself, potentially with the number 1 seed in the division on the line, and those upstart Commanders, even though they have their own issues at quarterback, there's a saying in the NFC East. Everybody hates each other, and they all hate Dallas. Give me Washington, yes, those redacteds, +7 in Jerry World.
Geno Smith? MyInstance.com. Moving over to the doggies, or to the favorites, excuse me, moving over to the locks. I'll get this right eventually, I promise. Yeah. I didn't even know the quarterback's first name for the Baltimore Ravens. That tells you how little of a chance I think they have against Cincinnati. If I'm Baltimore, I'm resting everybody I can for next week's game because you know you're going to be probably going to be on the road regardless.
Mm-hmm.
And the hope is that when you go on the road next week, you get Lamar back next week as well.
Mm-hmm.
Cincinnati is a 7-point favorite. Yeah, I like my chances with that. I'll take the Bengals -7. Mr. Watkins, my final lock pick of the year. I have picked against this team multiple times.
Indeed.
But for this week, and this week only,
mm-hmm.
I guess there's only one thing left to say. Duval! Jacksonville -6.5 hosting the Tennessee Titans.
Because, I mean, think about it, America. We know we're not the most popular fan base, but neither is Tennessee. Would you rather deal with power outages and cold and everything in the playoffs, or another chance to see Jackson DeVille in a Speedo?
Okay,
Just saying, folks. Just saying.
I mean, yeah, I guess technically speaking, y'all would host either Baltimore or the Chargers too, wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't that be some shit? Herbert played at Oregon.
Yes.
Jackson played at Louisville.
Yes.
Lawrence played at Clemson.
Yes.
I guess technically speaking, that would give him home collegiate advantage as well.
Huh?
I mean, I don't like your chances against the Chargers.
But
Baltimore, I think you could beat.
Look, people underestimate us and what we can do in the playoffs against very dominant teams in precarious situations and teams that may or may not play well in the state of Florida and then sometimes very low-scoring games. I mean, not that you would know anything about that, Harry, whatsoever. But all I'm saying is things have happened in January.
I'm changing my pick. All right, Eric, who are your locks for the week?
My 2 locks for the weekend of the year, final ones of the regular season. I gotta admit, I have loved what I've seen out of Brock Purdy. He has really galvanized the team and that fan base. With an outside shot at the number 1 seed, I don't think it's likely to happen because, again, your fate is also determined by the magic that is 1 o'clock Kirk Cousins yourselves. But you're playing Arizona. You're at home. You're doing what you can to find yourself back in Arizona in roughly a month's time. As much as I love the USFL and everything that is David Blau, yes, this is not going to end well. At home one last time at the stadium of 501 Jeans, give me the Niners minus not really disrespectful 14 against Arizona.
Oh, yeah. Arizona's about to get punched in the mouth.
And I also hate to be a little bit of a bearer of bad news.
No, I expect this one as well.
We talked about this earlier. Again, Jared Stidham. I don't think there's going to be any more magic against the hungry Kansas City Chiefs. Even though they're in the bright lights and in front of the gigantic torch of Al Davis at Allegiant Stadium, this line is also about right. Give me Kansas City, yes, Robert Taylor, -9 at Vegas.
So, if we were to make official predictions, let's go ahead and do that real quick here. How's your at the end of Sunday? Once we go final Sunday Night Football, how does your top 7 look for each conference? What order are you putting everybody in? I know I'm kind of springing this on you, so I will give you a chance to think about it while I give you mine.
Okay.
And mostly because we're running like 15 minutes under time right now, so we got a little bit of time to discuss it.
Okay.
In the AFC, unfortunately, I do think Kansas City wins, and that gives them the number 1 seed in the first round bye. But like I said before, that first round bye can be a blessing and it can be a curse depending on how it's utilized.
This is true.
2 seed Buffalo. 3 seed Cincinnati, because I think Cincinnati takes care of business against Baltimore on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
4 seed Jacksonville, because not only do I think I have them as my lock, so not only do I think they win, I think they cover.
Oh yeah.
Which would put you in a matchup against the 5 seed Los Angeles Chargers. Baltimore at Cincinnati again next week. The division would not go to a coin flip. The game would be in Cincinnati at Paycor.
Mm-hmm.
And while I'm hoping against hope for you with what we talked about off air, I do think Pittsburgh sneaks out with the wild card spot. Because I do think the Jets beat Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Dang it. I think Buffalo beats New England, but I do think Pittsburgh beats Cleveland. Which would give us a rematch in Buffalo next week of a game that, well, I think most Pittsburgh fans would like to forget. 38-3.
Oh boy, good luck, Kenny Pickett, in that one if that's the case.
Your AFC top 7 predictions.
So we're mostly in agreement. Kansas City gets the 1. Buffalo gets the 2. I am with you with Cincinnati. They do take care of business. They get the 3 seed. My Jaguars would get the 4. We are going to host the Chargers at the 5, so it's going to be a fantastic battle between Lawrence and Herbert. That would put Baltimore at 6 in Cincinnati. 7 for me, I'm honestly very tricky, though, because do I see the Jets beating Miami? Yes. Something about Pittsburgh, though. And again, everything we've discussed off air aside, there's a lot of momentum. There is a little bit of extra pressure, not just for the playoff spot, but to keep Mike Tomlin's streak of 5 seasons at 500 or better to start his career at 16. You can't spell Pickett without pick. Unfortunately. These last couple of games have been a little bit too close for comfort and enough of a slog. I'm sticking with my gut. I think Cleveland, with Deshaun Watson, still pulls off an upset. And if I'm correct in my math, with Buffalo winning, with Cleveland winning, that would give the Jets that 7 seed?
The Jets are mathematically eliminated.
Oh, yeah. So who would be the 7 in that case?
Miami would keep it.
Okay. So Miami would still be the 7 seed. Oh, hell. Yeah. Yeah. Skylar Thompson, good luck in the snow.
It would send Miami to Buffalo next week. Because that went so well for Tua when he came back up on a Saturday in the snow. Over in the NFC, I think Philadelphia beats Washington. I think Washington could keep it close, but I do think the Eagles are the better team there.
Well, remember, Philadelphia is playing the Giants.
Philadelphia and the Giants. Sorry, my mistake. I still think Philly beats the Giants anyways, though. I think 14's too many. But there are reports that Jalen Hurts is on track to play on Sunday.
They're going to need him.
Which is going to be massive. So I'm going to say Philly gets the 1. San Fran at the 2, Minnesota at the 3, Tampa Bay at the 4. San Fran's going to beat Arizona, so whatever Minnesota does isn't going to matter.
Right.
Tampa Bay's already locked in at the 4. That locks Dallas at the 5, so Dallas at Tampa Bay. The Giants are already locked at the 6. Giants at Minnesota. In a rematch of the walk-off Greg Joseph 61-yarder from 2 weeks ago. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Giants pull that upset, honestly.
Yeah,
so that means
doable depending on time slot. And I've said this.
So that means we come down to 3 teams for one spot.
Mm-hmm.
We come down to Seattle, Green Bay, and Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Rams are going to knock off the Seahawks.
Mm-hmm.
Which means Sunday Night Football is a win and you're in at the 7 for Green Bay and Detroit. And I'm not betting against Aaron Rodgers at Lambeau. I'll take the Packers as my 7 seed.
I'm glad you're sitting down for this one. Because I know when we were making our pick'ems and everything, and boy, are there some updates with that one. Yeah, Philadelphia, they take care of business. They clinch the East, they get the 1. San Francisco also takes care of business, so that would put them at the 2. I said already about Minnesota, but again, that would be irrelevant. They're at the 3. Tampa Bay locked in at the 4. I do think that they go ahead and get a winning season out of this, keeping Tom Brady's streak alive moments before playoffs.
I don't like Atlanta's chances against Tampa Bay.
So Tampa Bay will indeed be hosting Dallas. Boy, is that going to be interesting. Giants, they would also rematch with Minnesota. But that 7 seed, this is where we differ. Yes, I do think Geno Smith pulls a Geno Smith and eliminates his team from playoff contention, as he is wont to do. However, do you know what's delicious with some good various types of Wisconsin cheese and a little bit of a Midwestern charcuterie, if you will?
Kneecaps.
Exactly. Yes, it's Aaron Rodgers. Yes, it's prime time. Yes, the playoffs are on the line. I'm going to be blatantly honest. He can say he had faith, that there were no doubts. This isn't like many moons ago where he told everybody, RELAX, relax. No. I think this is a Packers team that falls short right at the last hurdle. Give me Detroit, win, in. We will see them, Jared Goff, Aiden Hutchinson, Jamal Williams, and company in San Francisco Wildcard Weekend.
You do realize this is going to take away from Jamal Williams his Pokemon playing time.
Well, I mean, he can do so. It's at least a bit of a decent plane ride out there. A lot of time on the flight still.
And I feel like they would spring for the Wi-Fi for him.
Of course.
I'm not sure how many Pokemon you're going to catch 20,000 feet up in the air, but hey, whatever.
I mean, hey, there are certain types, all I'm saying.
I wonder if they took that into account for Pokemon Go, if they had like air types and you can only catch them on plane rides. That would be kind of funny, actually.
Look, if they hadn't, you're welcome.
You want to save a dying game. All right. One more thing to touch on before we get out of here, just because we have to. Obviously, as a football show, the national championship game is before we will be back with you. It is Monday night. It is TCU versus Georgia. The Dogs are 11.5-point favorites.
Whoa, what?
That was the last number I saw.
Uh-oh. Okay. Interesting. I wonder how much of that was due to Mattress Mac.
Did he go in on TCU?
Oh, yeah. Gallery of Furniture, you spend $3,000 or more, and if the Horned Frogs win their first title since 1938, you get double your money back. Gallery of Furniture in Houston. You want a good deal? You see Mattress Mac.
For those who don't know, this is the same Jim McIlvaine.
Mac and Vale.
McInville, excuse me, who placed a huge bet on the Astros winning the World Series earlier this year and cashed out, I believe, what is widely regarded as the largest payout in professional gambling in the U.S. history.
Yep, $75 million.
Over like 3 different casinos.
Mm-hmm.
Give me 1 second. I'm about to do this. Again, 21 means 21. Obey all local, state, and federal gambling laws. Please gamble responsibly. I'm actually on my FanDuel account right now, as you guys can see. I'm on my FanDuel account. And it is 12.5 to Georgia now.
Okay. That's closer to what I've seen because that line opened at 13.
And that's with a plus 360 on the money line to TCU.
Mm-hmm.
Which means you would get 3.6 times whatever you bet back if you pick TCU to win.
So for those who are fans of parallel convergence and are more familiar with decimal odds, $4.60 payout.
Sure. So in one of my things, I think it's on DraftKings, I have a $5 bet on TCU.
Mm-hmm.
Just because $5 on TCU would return like $23.
Mm-hmm.
And I figured that was a gamble worth taking.
Mm-hmm.
On FanDuel, I have a mostly Georgia parlay, however, because let's be honest, this could get ugly, and this could get ugly quick.
Not even the presence of Herschel Walker could derail this.
I'd like to see my TCU bet pay off. I would, because, again, I'm not going to say no to 4 times my money. But this is a mid-level Big 12 team against arguably the dominant franchise in college football right now. The defending national champions looking to become the first 2-time in a row champions since Alabama. Ugh. Yeah, this is all Georgia. Dogs, and I'm gonna lay the points too. Dogs minus 12.5.
Sorry, Mattress Mac. I know you put 2.1 mil on the money line and 1 mil on TCU plus 13. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. For Stetson Bennett and everybody, especially its senior class looking to go out back to back, it's not there for me. Now, I'm annoyed that SoFi is not allowing tailgating before the game. Fuck you, Stan Kroenke, but lay or stay away. Give me the dogs. Give me the points. They will handle it. The run ends here. I am sorry.
One second, please.
Yeah, I was seeing this was feeling a little bit of time, and while Harry, smart that you're going with the over, because with what TCU did to Michigan's defense, there will be points.
I think that this is a safe bet, honestly, and the reason is, and this is me personally. I am not advocating what you guys are going to do. By all means, make your own decisions. The views of myself do not necessarily reflect those of the Not a Network network. I believe we have a thing for this. Mm-hmm. Views and opinions may not express those of a network ownership and management. I have free bets available on here, so I'm going to go ahead and take the chance here with the Georgia minus the 12.5. As well as the over on the game, because I do think it'll be a high-scoring game, because TCU has a very potent offense, and Max Duggan came to play against Michigan. I just think Georgia has too much for him, and at the end of the game especially, Georgia's offense is going to wear down TCU's defense.
I mean, if it winds up being like a good 52-28, I think that's reasonable.
I think Georgia pulls away in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it might be close at halftime, but I think Georgia pulls away in the second half.
Oh, yeah.
But, all right, that's officially made, and I think we are officially out of here. Oh, the season-long pick'em standings we wanted to discuss as well. Do that real quick, and then we'll get out of here.
Well, as someone whose name is Blue for a reason, has a bit of a messed up sleep schedule, the gimmicks that I don't necessarily feel like infringing this week won't necessarily be utilized. However, to put it in the parlance of those of parallel convergence, the Andesian, Brian Espinoza himself, does have 3 win conditions against me, as a safe season-long lead evaporated in the last month. I am currently sitting in the lead overall at 153-102, and Ryan 151-102-2. He's 2 games back, but we disagree on 4 different games. Houston and Indianapolis, Cleveland and Pittsburgh, Rams, Seahawks, and Lions, Packers. If he sweeps and goes 4-0 in those games against me, he reclaims his lead and thereby the title. If he goes 3-1 against me, he would at least have to split the week with Harry or win it outright, as our first tiebreaker is number of weeks 1. He's won 5, and due to a split week back in week 9, I've won 5.5.
Yes.
But if he does worse than 3-1, say we split down the middle at 2-2 or anything more in my favor, the crown is mine. No pressure, Brian. No pressure.
For those wondering how I'm doing, yeah, the first half of the season, I pretty much royally sucked. The second half of the season, though,
I mean, you've been quite on a streak after not winning a week whatsoever.
For like the first 12.
Yeah, you're currently sitting at 4 in a row.
I would be curious about something here. So we just finished week 17.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would be curious, once we finish week 18 here, divide them into 2 9-week halves. Mm-hmm. I would not be surprised if that second 9-week half, I would have taken it straight up. Like the overall 1 losses. It would be something to look up off the air once we get there.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll do the math and have an answer for everybody come next week. I'll have what they call in track and field the negative split, doing better in the second half of the race than the first half.
Wouldn't that also be like a back end push for a horse race?
Mm-hmm.
Because like how some horses are notoriously slow starters out of the gate, but then they really turn it on coming down the home stretch.
Yep, correct.
Speaking of which, you might get to see me actually make a Kentucky Derby bet live on the air later this season as well.
Ooh.
Don't
make me break out the seersucker if you do it. I will.
I have to see if horse racing is included in Ohio. I'm not sure that it is. Because
okay.
I think horse racing is its own separate part of the FanDuel app, and I don't know if Ohio has access to it yet.
Okay, let me know. And like I said, I have a seersucker suit. I will wear it.
We'll put on our fancy hats and call it a day.
Look, I'm not saying that there was an incident that would be a perfect story for Point of Viewer involving a seersucker suit, a Kentucky Derby day at work, and homemade mint juleps, but there might be a story there.
He's not saying there wasn't either. We close with this. there's one thing we should have learned this week, it's that everything that we take for granted can be taken away like that. I am thankful that it wasn't taken away. And I hope that our big takeaways now are instead to be kind to one another, to be respectful to one another, to appreciate one another, and to realize to them, maybe it's more than just a game. Let's do it for Damar. For myself, the voice of reason, Harry Broadhurst. The HNIC of the NAP. Technically NAN, I guess.
NAN.
NANP.
NANPN? NANN? Oh, Lord, our acronyms. Yeah. Work in progress.
For the voice of reason and the anchor man. Just because it's easier. I'm Harry Broadhurst. He's Eric Watkins. And you have been listening and or watching the Broadhurst-Watkins Sports Report.
Sports in black and white.
A presentation of the Not a Network Podcast Network online at Not a Network Pods on Twitter. Or twitter.com/Not a Network Pods. At Not a Network Pods on YouTube.
Yep. YouTube.com/@ Not a Network Pods. You delete the @
And twitch.tv/Not a Network as well. Not a Network Pods there as well. Or is that still the AWP podcast new name forthcoming?
No. What we're doing with Twitch, if you've been watching us on twitch.tv/AWP podcasts, come February 1st, we will be sunsetting that channel. That will be going off into the ether. However, in betwixt now and then, we're on both twitch.tv/AWP podcast and twitch.tv/Not a Network Pods. We encourage you to stick around to twitch.tv/Not a Network Pods, as come February 1st, that will be our exclusive Twitch home.
So we're pretty much Not a Network Pods everywhere, just with an @ symbol on YouTube.
Exactly. And we will be sending out a Discord link. Check out our Twitter and other places, because the man who said over the winter break he would work to get the Discord open to the public, he fulfilled his promise. The Discord is open to the public. Feel free to join us there.
I'm Harry. He's Eric. This has been the Broadhurst-Watkins Sports Report.
Sports in black and white.
And we'll see you guys in 6 days for the postseason preview here on BWSR. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Broadhurst-Watkins Sports Report. Sports in black and white. A presentation of the Not a Network Podcast Network. Available online via most major streaming services.